What up, what up? Zach Bradshaw, long-winded guy, dude talking about charts. In the early morning today. So over the weekend, Bitcoin popped up to 54, or I'm sorry, 58,000. Ethereum popped up to 2,000. And then I was expecting some continuation, probably like last night or today or maybe tomorrow, up into 61, maybe above that to 65,000, and Ethereum on to 21, 22, maybe 24,000 or 2,400. Well, um, while this was going on, or as Bitcoin popped up to 58, I should have had some sort of sells in to sell a little bit of this top because I knew it was coming up here, or knew it was coming. I was pretty sure that was coming up here, and it would have made sense to go ahead and have some limit sells up here at about 54 and maybe a little bit before it. And certainly I was awake and alert and saw the charts at 58,000 while I was awake and never sold any piece of it. And now I'm slightly regretting it. Not regretting it too much, but um, similar to my selling the tops video, I should have done something more like that, really for both of these, Ethereum and for Bitcoin, so that now as this thing came down here and based up off of the uh, the 10 moving average, that I would be able to buy some right here and fold over some of my cash a little bit more. And I said in a video a couple of days ago that, well, maybe this thing will come down here and hit in this green box and base on this diagonal at the same time. So actually, I'm going to thicken this one up just a little bit, um, because it does look like it might be becoming relevant again shortly. And maybe I can throw in some more levels in here once I get down to the 4 hour or the 1 hour chart. I probably will throw some levels in here. You know what? Well, let's just wait. So could have sold some up here. Now it's down at 54, and just for sake of measurement, let's say I got it from like the top of these closes. That's pretty reasonable. So 5%, or 4%, 4.5% that I've lost in holding. Um, as of right now, obviously, I think it's going to come back up here and go. Well, now I'm less sure. Now I'm less sure. This 58 or 61 could have been a reasonable medium term top, and we have a lot of area to that we just went through fairly quickly over the course of like 2 weeks, and I wouldn't be opposed to us coming down here and testing out these prices again, and seeing where Bitcoin should really be next. So, and obviously it doesn't matter what I think would be okay. Bitcoin and the price is going to do what it's going to do when it's going to do it, right? But um, if I would have sold a little bit there, then I could have bought some here, and I would be waiting on the sideline with my powder dry to buy into this green box and maybe even down to here. And at a certain point, once it probably breaks through these green boxes, I will be selling a larger portion of my position. Since I did not sell at 58, I'm content with using this area as a stop loss. And if Bitcoin breaks down below it, getting out of like 50 or 60% of my position, maybe more, that were bought down here in this consolidation phase, and a little bit in these consolidation phases, bought in the green box, for example. But make sure that I protect my profit from these positions, and then as Bitcoin potentially does something like what it did here, comes all the way down to from 40,000 to 30,000, really to like 28,000. It could do the same thing in here, kind of play around. It doesn't. The shape is really right. I don't like predictions and saying what I think is going to happen, but it looks to me like it's going to keep going up, especially on higher term time frames. Well, I'm not trying to make predictions. I'm trying to look at the probabilities and then make smart decisions based on those probabilities. And so when this level breaks, I will be getting out, and maybe it catches right here and I miss some of my position. I, end up with not as good of a string of trades here as it could be. But I will have saved my cash on the side, which I don't know, I made about 700 bucks from this point to this point. And I haven't made it until I sell it. Well, actually, I'm up like $1,200 from where I was in here, and up about $700 from when it first based up to 40. So hmm, depends on how you want to look at it. And from the initial amount that I actually put into this thing, I'm up over 2K. So um, now I'm going to go ahead and drop down to some of these smaller time frames and see if I can find some levels on these. Oh, I don't like any of these levels. None of these levels doing it for me over here on this 4 hour. Let's look at a 1 hour. I think I got one right there. Yeah, I like that one pretty good. Maybe move it up just a bit. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, looks good. Um, that's a pretty obvious one right here too. That one right there. Okay. And that's good for now. And I'm going to thicken these up to make them relevant at these levels. I still need to match lots of this up with other things in the charts to see how thick these lines should really be, whether I need things in the middle. But let's take this up back up to a 12 hour and see how that looks. Okay, not that bad. Still not showing us that much on a 12 hour. On a 4 hour, oh yeah, I guess that looks pretty good for a 4 hour now. Um, and maybe there's another. Well, I mean, I guess I already have a green box, and now that it's looking like this, though, I will actually just expand this green box to take over these two lines, and maybe I should really just be deleting this one out. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to thicken this one. Well, let's make it a 2, and then thicken this one. Okay, yeah, that looks good. So there's Bitcoin. Let's jump over here to Ethereum. So I can see some levels on the 4 hour for Ethereum that kind of look like they could work, but I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did with Bitcoin, drop down to the 1 hour. Now that's pretty obvious level there and pretty obvious levels here. Okay, so you can tell that the Ethereum chart isn't as healthy, as I like to say, as the Bitcoin chart. Let's make that one super thick. And then, and this one gives me a good opportunity to explain this because I'm always talking about sick charts or the chart looks like that or chart looks like this. And here I have another good example. Um, see how that looks on the 4 hour to sort out which one of those levels it should be. Okay, this whole thing looks like overkill from this perspective. Okay, let's drop down to those closes and let's see how this looks on the 1 hour. Not too hot. So these levels up here aren't telling me much. I do like all of the levels in here, and actually, let's change how some of these are broken up. Um, this level looks like it didn't play much, and maybe there's another level or two I might need to try to find in here. I'm going to leave this one super skinny for now and move on. Now this one looks like it just played. So a decent little, probably 2% bounce off of this area. 3% as it stands right now, but we'll see whether that's going to continue going that direction or not. But you see that Ethereum, similar to the other day, Ethereum has pulled deeper back into this retracement. So if we look over here on Bitcoin, you'll see that, well, you know what, let's just go by the dates. So here is the 18th, and Bitcoin is clearly above the price level that it was on the 18th, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, all this area. Ethereum, on the other hand, on the 17th, okay, so it's, well, I mean, it's about back to where it was on the 17th. It's lower than it was on the 18th and the 19th, right? So Ethereum was up here on the 18th and 19th, was this whole space in here, and now it's below it. And so that's why I'm saying the chart is weaker. compared to Bitcoin, which hasn't reached back down to these levels yet, and looks closer to its top, has put in less levels. So none of the levels that I already had drawn, maybe I should have had some laid out in here, but none of the levels that I had drawn on Bitcoin. And you know what? Looking at this chart, I definitely need to put in this right here. Probably put that on a 3. Okay. Let me jump back out to the 12 hour and see. Yeah, duh. Okay, so, oops. So, while Bitcoin is closer to its all-time highs, I don't know in terms of percentage, or obviously it's more raw amount of money because it's got a whole extra zero on the end of it. But Ethereum based up and is now back in this consolidation zone, which probably has a lot of volume in it. If I put up the volume profile over here to see how much has been traded at these different price points. But this looks like a strong area for Ethereum where I would be, if it breaks through this, then I will definitely be pulling stop losses, and probably not just on Ethereum. I probably would reduce some of my positions on Bitcoin, depending on what that chart was doing. But if Ethereum breaks this level, it could look ugly. I mean, there's some potential bounce points in here, but it may be destined all the way to come back down to 14, just based on the way that I'm getting used to this chart, right? It looks way different the way that it acts than Bitcoin. So I'm still trying to get the sense for it the way that I have for Bitcoin, where I'm like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's probably gonna do this or it might do that. Ethereum, I'm still learning those levels and the shape of the charts and the way that it moves. So for example, when Ethereum does these rollover motions like this, I'm less worried about it because I've seen for the last several weeks that it rolls over and then it continues to bounce up. Well, I don't like that shape on Bitcoin even more, and that's why I didn't like it on Ethereum. And this one is looking pretty ugly. So the more that I'm looking at these charts, and the more that I'm seeing this bounce play up to 55, if this bounce comes up here to like this red moving average or this yellow moving average, I will probably be set. Well, this is on the 1 hour chart. Let's look at the more reasonable chart. Man, these long-term charts look great. I don't know if I'll be selling out of anything. If this gets up here to 56 or something like that, I might sell some of my position that I wished I would have sold at 54, because this is a lower low here, and the Ethereum chart again looks even worse. Now, again, I am playing the trifecta. I'm saying again, I don't think I brought up in this video, but in my last video, I think it's just called trifecta. And I'm feeling very good about selling out of Ethereum down here because it's continuing to, the Ethereum to Bitcoin ratio is continuing to go down. And maybe it holds this level, and maybe this is the point where some of that reverses, and this is the good time to buy Ethereum versus Bitcoin, or buy Ethereum with your Bitcoin, put your money into Ethereum instead of Bitcoin, however you're going to do it. But I have very little confidence in looking at this chart that this is a bounce point. Now, maybe I'm just not seeing it. And this line here that this thing just bounced off of, that this line right here should be maybe thicker. But when I see it in this area, I don't know how or why it should be thicker. Now, it's interesting that it's coming at these open and close on these dojis, several closes in here. I mean, it does look like an important level, and I'm going to keep it on my chart, but it doesn't necessarily look like enough to bounce this up, especially more dramatically than Bitcoin is poised to bounce up, which is what would cause this chart to bounce here. Is Ethereum has to grow more or fall less than Ethereum from this point. If it doesn't do that, then it's going to break below this line, and we'll see what new ratio it may fall to, somewhere down here, somewhere down here. Maybe it catches there, though I doubt it. Or maybe it continues all the way down here, which is why I'm feeling great about getting out of Ethereum when it was at, and you know what, looks like we need some alerts on this thing right now. In case this breaks, I will actually probably be selling out of my last little bit of Ethereum in on my Coinbase account. I have some in other wallets similar to how I have Bitcoin saved, so I don't look at it. I have a little tiny bit of Ethereum tucked away in the same way. But if this breaks below here, I will almost definitely be getting out of Ethereum and back into Bitcoin with that. Maybe something other than Bitcoin, but um, I don't think, based on these two charts, that this is a bouncing level. This looks like this thing is going to break through, but it is a thick old line for a reason, and that's because it's been getting play all for like a while, for months. This thing has been getting play. So I'm not, I'm not Miss Cleo. I'm not sure what's going to happen next. I'm never sure what's going to happen next. But the way that I'll play this is break this line, probably looking to get back into cash. Breaks, see, this one's harder. Like this candle looks like it's going to continue going down. I want to get out of Ethereum right now, but it's not the best point for me to get out of Ethereum because this could be a consolidation and bounce point. Because I didn't sell up here in the 2000s any little piece, like selling 25% of my Ethereum position will make me feel a lot more confident about sitting here and not doing anything and waiting to see whether I should buy as it crosses this line or if it's going to bounce down here. I'm going to have the chance to buy in this area while I'm for extending the boxes. Let's go ahead and extend that one because there is also this trend line that now when you look at it in terms of these trend lines, well, Ethereum and Bitcoin looking very similar. That now this one is almost back to its trend line and its last green region. And now Bitcoin is almost back to this trend line and its last green region. So that's something that's given me a little bit more confidence, not that much because trend lines don't matter as much to me as verticals do. But I do like trend lines pretty good. And this one has been getting play the same way that this one's been getting play. Maybe there's some trend lines in here. Oh, well, I guess I do have this trend line that was getting play. Let's see if this plays at any other angles. Ooh, wow, it does. It does, don't it? Oh, wow. Okay. So maybe I need to play with that a little bit and see what I might be able to find. But um, I got my levels in here. I got my levels in here. I think this isn't enough rambling about these price charts for today. Oh, and so if Bitcoin breaks, and I could say if Bitcoin closes here, I'll be well. It's just went and tested the 10 simple. Okay, so I've been redrawing my charts on the 1 hour, and it's been uh, giving me a bias, a short-term bias instead of a long-term bias. I like to have a long-term bias. The only reason for me to be looking to sell in here is to rebuy at these levels, rebuy in these levels, and since there's a decent low percentage on this fall from here to here, from here to here, right? That's 5% from where it is right now. If we look at it going the other direction, it's probably about, yeah, a little bit more than 5%. So it makes good sense for me to sell a little teeny tiny itty bitty piece here, but I'm not just going to do it where it is. I'm going to, probably flip over here from Crown to Dan, look at the 1 hour or the 15-minute and see if there's a bounce play. And it looks like there was a nice little bounce that already played. Wow, and it's playing this range right here. So I'm probably going to make my next decision based on what's a 15-minute chart? Based on closes in and outside of these regions, probably looking at 1 hour chart. No, 4 hour chart. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so it's too nuanced for me to try to explain and say, well, I'll do this of that, I'll do this of that, because there's literally like 7 scenarios I'm seeing in my head. Um, in terms of what I may do based on what this chart does, there's only like 2 or 3 for what I see this chart doing, or at least 2 or 3 worth explaining. And trying to say what I'm going to do here is a little bit much. It's a little bit much. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. And I'm just a scrub learning how to trade on the internet. Well, I'm just a scrub recording trading videos on the internet, because I guess I'm trading on the internet too. But the internet part is that this is becoming a video and a post. So um, that's enough on this one. I think I've recorded my thoughts pretty about as clear as they're going to get right now in this phase of indecision right here. Looking at this Ethereum, if it breaks, if it closes in here, I will probably be selling out of at least half of my Ethereum, which is I don't have much Ethereum left already, based on my trade on this chart. But I do not like the idea of Ethereum closing in this range, though it's really like this whole range here. But if it closes in here, I'd expect it to come down here to this line, at least into the green box. If it closes a 4-hour or a 12 hour, even worse. If it closes a 4 or 12 hour in between these two verticals right here, let's thicken this one up for its increased relevancy. Then I will be looking for this to come down here. If it closes above this, I would expect it to keep playing out here and then still make a decision. I'm not sure whether it would go down or go up, but I would really like to see this close in here so I can get to work and not worry about managing these positions. I'd really, really love Bitcoin to close up here. But if Bitcoin closes in this level, I will not be as discouraged about that price as Ethereum closing in this level, because there's a lot more price action in here. This level is still above everything that went on down here. So if this closes in this area, then I'll have stronger hands than I will on the Ethereum chart, where this will make my hands a little bit weaker and more likely to sell. Ethereum or Bitcoin still has a ways to run before I get worried about my positions here. So any questions about my trading style, my silly trading information, just shoot. Otherwise, see you in the next one.